Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome home. Welcome to W.A.R. We're all recovering. War. I'm your host, Stryker, and I'm joined today with my brother, John, 1SV, the first swaggy vet. What's going on, baby? How you doing?
What's going on, Stryker? How you doing today, my brother?
I'm doing good. I'm so glad you could join us. And today, folks, is a good one. This is where we talk about the war people don't see, the war after the accident, the war after the diagnosis, the war inside the mind when everyone thinks you look fine. That rhymed. I like that.
Yeah.
Today's guest is someone I respect because he speaks on the part of recovery that most people hide. Nick, I hope I don't bomb your last name, man. I'm going to try. Nicholas Ruchlewicz. Ricks.
It's close, Nicholas Ruchlewicz. Nicholas works great.
Okay. Ruchlewicz.
Ruchlewicz, yep, sounds great.
Okay, got it. So the W is pronounced with a V.
It's the Polak way, yep.
Okay, they do that too in Germany. Okay, I got it. Nick is a trauma survivor and a brain injury survivor after a motorcycle crash, and he turned that pain into purpose through advocacy and conversation. He has also spoken about mental health publicly and focuses on breaking stigma, especially for men. He is also a tabletop role play and gaming fan, as myself, and he has shared how community and role play helped him through recovery. Nicholas, welcome to War. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you very both for having me. I do appreciate it as well.
Thank you, sir. And before we start, I want to say something real because this episode is personal for me. I
Okay.
also had a motorcycle accident. You know, I died, Nick. I was dead for 13 minutes on the scene. They revived me and everything. I died again on the way to the hospital. Then I was on life support for a couple of days. And the doctors looked at my brain scans, my MRIs and everything, and said I should not be here. And after I woke up, I walked away with some road rash, my finger that's still fractured, but no major stuff, no broken bones, no nothing. I had major brain bleeds and hematomas and everything. And I'm just here, man. And yeah, I went somewhere, Nick, and I'll get into that another time. But so I feel you. So when I say I understand the word survivor, I mean it. And I want you to know you are in a room with somebody who gets it, you know? So with that said, let's get into it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Nick, for people meeting you for the first time, take us to the moment that changed everything. What do you remember about the crash and what came after it?
Um, so I have zero memory of it whatsoever.
Mm.
It was a single vehicle. I was I just had a rough separation and divorce a year before, so I had a motorcycle license for a little over a year, and I just got a new bike, but it just snowed in March, and I was afraid I'd ruin my paint job, so I had it in my storage unit. I've ridden, friends' bikes and stuff around before, but never my own. So it was in my storage unit. So every night I'd ride it around, until the roads were clear, and then one night something my mother was like, Nicholas's dogs are freaking out. My brother's like, I have no idea where it is, and gave him a telephone, called my girlfriend. She didn't have the other friend's number. She went on Facebook, got that, but so it was a crazy circumstance that someone came up, and the police, they met the police there, said nothing's wrong, I gotta go. My friend broke in the gate, that way the police entered, so it wasn't breaking and entering, and then the paramedics picked me up. My body was lying there for roughly about 4 hours. So,
Oh wow.
yep.
That's crazy. And I know what you mean when you say you don't remember anything, because I don't remember anything with mine either, just to where I went and then waking up in the hospital. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I resonate with
and
that. And can I ask what kind of bike was it?
sure, it was a Harley, it was like a Harley freewheel. So yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
and um, yeah. Do you want me to explain the injury, or just we'll
Yes.
get
Well. I mean, sure, sure.
it doesn't bother. I mean, I've spoken about it a bunch, so nobody knows what happens. But they, I was wearing a three-quarter helmet, so it covered everything with a bubble. So there's only one cut I have right here. Otherwise, I would have bled to death. But I impacted a wall. I separated my pelvic circle. I broke my sacroiliac. I crushed my left orbital, and I had a massive concussion, right side brain bleed, so dermahematoma. So I
Mm,
would say just a little bit of trauma.
a
Um,
little.
yeah, I was taken right into, so trauma is different. So there's lots of trauma across. Everybody goes through different trauma, and my trauma is very unique because I went to a trauma unit. Different hospitals and different circumstances or trauma. I went to a trauma level 1 trauma in Northern Virginia, and I went right there. They took me right up. They were afraid a bone was could pierce the brain, about all the internal bleedings. Fortunately, I didn't actually have to have any brain surgery, but I have no memory of it. So I was never in a coma, but I was never cognizant. So people would come in the room, my girlfriend or my friends, and I would recognize people, but I have zero memory of it. It was like to get me to eat, they say, "Oh, we're gonna go to dinner," so I would just like follow basic commands.
Right.
Um, they every brain injury is different. Mine was right side, which means left side. Issues. It's how you see, and also compulsory and problem solving abilities. So I was compulsive because what adult male wants to be tied to bed. So I kept trying to fight to get up, and when they didn't tie my hands one time, I pulled the staples out of my head, and then I
Oh.
pulled the intubator out, and I broke the sutures in my pelvis when I stood up. So now I have a plate holding it together.
Mm,
So I said the movie Face Off's full of crap because like ear to ear, that's the great scar. They medical's good if I have a great set of hair that covers it.
mm,
Um, so yeah, but I was, like I said, never in a coma, but I wasn't cognizant at all. And when I woke up, and that's where my journey, I feel, began, was when I was being transferred to a rehabilitation hospital where I had to relearn how to do everything again. And for me, that's that's hard because I speak to other people in trauma, and sometimes I feel disingenuous because I have zero memory of trauma, but I know the recovery, and obviously everything that came into that, the depression, the anxiety, the
mhm.
hopelessness, everything else. And that's why I choose to kind of step forward and say, why not me instead of why me? So,
Well said. And because Nicholas, I want to say thank you for that because recovery, a lot of people think it's easy, but it's not. That's the hardest part, actually. And the recovery, a lot of people don't know this neither. I wear these shades on this shows because I have light sensitivity and I'm still healing from orbital fractures from my motorcycle accident. I had my socket, my eye came out of his socket. So yeah, so I'm still healing from facial and orbital fractures. That's why I wear these shades all the time. So yeah, recovery is the hardest part, man. So I get it. I get it.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah, Nick, because that's a lot to unpack. And I'll be honest with you, man. Like,
yeah.
there's so much to. It seems like it's a new identity for you because you're dealing with so much from symptoms. And I think what stood out to me is that question of why not, and that's a battle within itself. I mean, why me?
yeah.
I think that's what you said. So, how was that mental fight happening while you were in rehabilitation? Because that seems like that can be something that also prevents you from give you a depressive mind state while you're trying to, trying to recover. How was that
Right.
mental fight?
So I would say, why not me instead of why
Why?
me?
Okay.
But, um, it's, I don't, for some reason, many males, and I don't have much self-esteem or self-value or self-worth. So for me, going through that struggle was when you feel worthless, I mean, you're only going to go up from there. So some of it for me was just, okay, you can't do this, but you can't do anything anyhow. You might as well try and do it. So I was very, very low with everything in my life, and I knew I needed to get up. And I am someone says, "Oh, you have a lot of grit. You have a lot of grit." I said, "You're right, but there's a cost for that grit. If you understand, there is a cost for that grit." Um, so it was, yeah, I mean, it was hard just trying to, remembering to, trying to keep going, and my hands didn't work, my eye, I couldn't see, and I just felt, I felt a little lost, and every every bit of recovery, and Stryker, you would recognize certain things. I went to uh, ST, OT, and PT, speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical
Mm,
therapy. Many
mm,
people know what physical therapy is. Occupational therapy is trying to get you to be independent again. It's trying to clean yourself, eat, try to use your hands. Like I first had to how to learn to use my eyebrows. And then speech therapy was very tough for me because that was trying to forced me to slow down. That was the hardest part of the recovery, where I felt like a child, where I felt like was I worthless? I mean, that was where my brain just couldn't connect to, well, I can talk fine, but I don't know why you're treating me like this. And having to understand there was something greater out there. And for me, they have, at the rehabilitation hospital I was in, they have these mentoring programs, which I'm a part of now, and we speak to active patients in rehabilitation. And I couldn't stay in long once because I was in a lot of pain, which I don't call it pain anymore, I call it being uncomfortable. But I remember hearing a woman speak, and she spoke about, she was a math professor, everything else, and she had a brain aneurysm and didn't know what numbers were anymore, and had to relearn
mm.
how numbers, everything else. And I felt awful, because why should I be complaining about my circumstance? I mean, she went through something so much worse. I mean, she had to relearn her entire everything. So that's where I said, okay, I can do it, because I wanted to get better, because I wanted to find ways to I can help others going through their journey, not alone. Make sure people are not alone in their journey.
Wow. Wow. I'm thinking when you was talking about speech, OT and physical therapy, oddly enough, when my motorcycle accident, I didn't go through speech and OT, but I went through speech and OT after I came back from Iraq. And, I've been blown up a few times here and there, but I never, like, I did lose consciousness once or twice, but I think it's all because it wasn't as traumatic as the motorcycle crash, but, for some reason I couldn't speak properly anymore. I couldn't, do any of those things anymore. So I went through speech therapy for a long time and that's tough, man. Speech therapy is tough. Like, it's like exercise. Like, it's really, really tough. So I get it, man. I get it.
It
Um,
it's so hard, because I would tell people, like, physical therapy, you can see something that wasn't working before. You can see your strength returning here. You can see walking, moving around. Occupational, you can see gaining independence again. You can see I can now clean myself, eat, I can move, etc. But speech therapy, it's all behind the eyes. It's all
right,
there, and you might feel you're speaking fine, but other people are like, "Well, what are you?" There's another mentor who I care for dearly, and she was the DMV one time and trying to get something, and the woman behind the counter assumed something, and all of a sudden she got a letter saying that she was mentally disabled. And just so, I mean, beyond angry. How hurtful is that? I understand everything, she has a degree and everything else, but with the closed head injury, she has difficulty speaking. That's
right.
fine, but she still sees everything. So through that recovery process, and I know I'm jumping all around a bunch, but I've learned to always make sure I look at someone in the eye when I speak to them, because I know what it's like someone discounting what I did or where I was or anything else. So I try to do everything I can to ensure that others see, their that I'm acknowledging them.
Right, right. So, so Nicholas, at what point did you realize you wanted to do something else or something different with what happened to you?
Um, Again, it was me going into the mentoring group to have people that were really, you know, just hearing someone else speak and just seeing where they are, I said, okay, that's why I want to do this with someone. At the trauma unit I was in, I'm part of something now that's called Trauma Survivors Network. That's literally around the globe, all over every level one trauma, many level one traumas, level two traumas in the United States have a representative. But that's where someone will go in and talk to the family and the patient. Well, that wasn't active when my injury happened. So fortunately, my girlfriend, now my wife, she was around head injury before, so certain things made sense to her. But my mother, for sure, and a little bit my father were terrified when the doctor said, "Oh, he might never walk again. There's a small chance he might be paralyzed. There's, certain things." And so the mother always heard the absolute worst and not just this could happen. Um, and so coming out of it, I wanted to always find ways to give back, and I've always tried to be a very kind and caring person. And my, I say my trauma it made me realize one thing, that I'm not invisible. No matter how much I thought before that I was invisible, I tell people, I promise you're not. People see you, they know you, that they see you. And that was the hardest thing for me, because I realized I was on a bigger stage than I could ever imagine.
Mm,
So I was like, might as well try to make it, fake it till you make it. Let's try. So I did, what I could, the next steps to try to help someone else know they had an ally with it, and or whatever the case may be, because my circumstance can be very different than yours, but we speak similar languages. Like, I'm saying something that you remember and recall, and I so again, it's that same recovery is the same, is similar to so many. The modalities is different, but recovery and whatever that means to it is that system.
amen. Amen.
Hmm.
Yes, sir.
But Nick, so Nick, what was the moment when you went from that transition of trauma to growth, to have that mind to say, okay, I want to start not only doing better but feeling better about my situation.
It was me going to it was when I got out of the hospital and was getting out of the hospital, just getting back into outpatient and talking to different therapists and seeing, their excitement for me, and seeing I said I never wanted to let them down.
Hmm.
That was a lie I told myself. I never wanted to let my therapist down. They worked so hard. I needed to do it. So I was a brown noser. I wanted to do everything I could to help them. So by pushing myself farther and farther, I did that more to try to reach out to others and others. And because of who I was, or how I conversed with them, they all said, "Oh, we want you to look at this program. You should speak to this program. You'll get a lot out of it." And then going to those support groups, or seeing that, that mentoring group, etc., did teach me that this was something that I really wanted to be a part of. And then I never stop. I don't leave well enough alone, let's just say. I mean, it's, as I said to myself, if you would have looked at me 3 years ago, there's no way I'd ever imagined, meeting my favorite band, and interviewing the musician about my trauma, going to Congress or anything else. Like, there's no way. Years before that, I would never expected to do a brain injury conference, be, featured in an international organization. Before that, I would never expect to speak to patients all the time.
Mm,
So I try to push it to make it better. I said in one of my webinars that I did, I said, just try to do the next right thing. And I've had that mindset for a long time, just trying to just do it because it's the right thing to do. I try to be a very noble, kind, and caring person. And to do that, you have to make mistakes, but you can also learn from them. If you can make multiple mistakes, it's okay. But when you keep doing it, you're being careless or whatnot. And I'm trying to not always try to grow from those activities and that circumstance.
Mm. So Nick, one thing you said, even in that story, um, I like how you put it, but a lot of times that shift from being from trauma to being transformed starts with a thought, not the injury, not the body. It starts with the thought. And for you saying, "Hey, I made up my mind to not let my therapist down," that was that thought that triggered you to be transformed. You know what I mean? So I appreciate you for sharing that, brother.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no
that's deep.
problem. It's
That's deep.
Yeah, when I went to I just got my industry certification, my PMP, blah blah blah, project management portfolio. So it's an
Congratulations.
interesting, yeah, yeah. It was but they ask you, why are you doing this? And they said, many you do raise, what is it? Mine was beyond personal. Mine was because I wanted to tell my speech therapist that I did it. She told me I could do it, and I immediately, as soon as I did, I messaged her right away and said, "Treasure, you don't can't believe it." And so for me, that was the greatest victory of all, like to tell my speech therapist, "Look what I did." So I know it's like people are like, when I said that, someone like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that." I'm like, that was what I needed to do to say that. Like I needed to push myself for that. And it's interesting. So I manage I give the gift of low expectations for my job. That's a project management 101. Um, but I manage in construction technology programs, blah blah blah. But I say that because the first worksheet I had in speech therapy was, she said, "Okay, you need to put these construction schedule. You got to get these workers in a construction schedule, and here's how to do it. This and that." And I was so mad at her. I said, "This is the stupidest thing in the world. Why would you ever do that?" And that was me not wanting to give control. That was me not being able to relax and stuff like that. But then when she left, I just cried and I cried. "You're talking to me like I'm a child. You're talking to me like I'm an idiot." And then I said, maybe there's more to this than I need to know. So
Mm,
that was that mindset to be like, okay, like, why don't you, I can do this. I just can't walk. I just can't walk. I was like, maybe there's something else in there. Let me try to learn. And it was that ability to try to humble myself to not accept to know it all, to just to what I can do, because that's what we need to do. I mean, people should do that anyhow. Not everybody knows everything. But allowing yourself to fail forward, and I'm never afraid to fail. I just fail first is I just go. I'm risk adverse, but I'm not gonna do something crazy, but I never hesitate. I just do it. It's in my nature just to say, just keep going and keep pushing forward. Taking those, I joke, I'm like 501. I'm like the Kool-Aid man, but that one wall took me out.
Oh man, Nicholas. Are you and your speech therapist still in touch?
Yes, yep. I speak to my inpatient one. She has her own organization she started, and I've spoken to her, and I've left some comments, and I always cheer her on. And my other speech therapist, my outpatient, she actually went to Congress a couple years ago. I saw her, but she's over in Chicago, I believe in DeVry. She was running that whole program there. So we do speak, and we are. I mean, she's one of the sweetest, caring women I've ever met, and she's pretty badass. And the way she looks at it is, it's something. And the friendships that I've made through this, that's the craziest thing. So my trauma happened, and then I wanted to have a birthday party. My birthday's in August, blah blah blah, but I couldn't walk then. And I wanted to invite all my hospital therapists to it, to like, look how far I've come now, walking again, etc. else. So it was in October. Well, secretly I was going to propose. I proposed to my girlfriend there, but and I saw this whole like mentoring speech. That's my first YouTube video I did way back in 2016. So that was so 2016 was my trauma on the Ides of March. But anyhow, so I did this whole speech, but at that party, many of my hospital therapists were there, and many of those hospital therapists were there at my wedding too. So I say that because this horrible thing happened in my life, but it's a check mark that I've only built the story. I talk to patients, don't be your own narrator. You know, you're the one, speak your own story. Don't let anybody else do it. So when you take control of the narrative, then other people can't fill it. And now my story just keeps growing and growing because I've had that chance to be vulnerable. I had that chance to be scared, and I've also had that chance to help step up and try to do something else with for someone else.
So your birthday is in August, you said.
August 17th, 1980.
Really? I'm August 13th. So, Leo's rule. Um, but my speech therapist, Nicholas, was evil, I think, and that's probably the reason I quit speech therapy and never returned. I learned how to talk again on my own, but that's another story.
Wow.
Um, yeah. Um, so Nicholas, you said your advocacy work is a passion project and not about money.
Nope,
Uh,
correct.
right. Why is it important for people to understand your motive is impact, not attention?
Because I want them to know that it doesn't always have to be there doesn't have to be a gain, a fiscal gain for me. What is worth it for me is the reward is the help it inspires others. And I've said if I help one person, maybe it was worth it. And I know I've helped people from around the globe. I got connected to one of my favorite bands. So when my brain was out, when I wasn't cognizant, my girlfriend would play my music station, which was heavy metal music. It was gothic metal, Typo Negative, and there was another band, Lacuna Coil, that would play. But when certain songs were on, my blood pressure would literally lower. And so
Mm,
music has become such a huge part of it. But I actually, like I mentioned earlier, I interviewed the lead one of the vocalists, Christina Scabia, about this, and she was very fascinated, very kind, and I shared it to their community and people in Italy or in Germany. They spoke to me about how trauma affected them, and you know it's been really neat. So by taking something, I just ran with it and made it so much bigger and different than it needed to be. And again, I keep looking at, I'm like, holy crap, how did I do that? How did I do this? And I was like, well, let's try something else now. Let's try to do it.
Right. We just spoke about music on our we had a a episode right before yours, and we were just talking about how music is a great therapy, so yeah, my music for me, it lowers my blood pressure too. Like, not blood pressure medicine and all that, but actually music, so yeah.
okay. Nick, have you currently been on any other platforms or in spaces where you spoken on the trauma or mental health to others?
I really enjoyed, so another brain injury survivor, the one that was on interviewed Christina with me, he was on a handful of podcasts. He was one that told me about Podmatch. So I was able to go there, and that's how I've been able to be on a handful of different, podcasts, which is definitely, this has been a whole new renewal for me, just a new purpose to just help people and meet
Yeah.
awesome, people like yourself and new audiences, because again, it keeps going and expanding. And then with Trauma Survivors Network, I was asked to do a webinar about, it was hosted by Anxiety and Depression Association of America. And I said, boy, you guys are busy. Uh, but I did a webinar with them, and I've done article for Amelia Clark from Game of Thrones. She started a brain
Really?
aneurysm. Yeah, I did meet her. I didn't meet her, but her organization,
Okay.
so sameu.org, she had a
Mhm.
brain aneurysm after the first season of Game of Thrones, but she
Mm,
started a organization called sameu.org, that they actually got something on the British Parliament for their work, and I wrote out to them, and they featured me in an advocate. I did a study with them and my wife on with Binghamton in University of Binghamton in England, through what couples go through trauma. I was at conferences, and like I said, I went to Congress. So I'm
mhm,
keep trying to do more. And this year is like I'm trying to challenge myself more. And this year I'm going to speaking to my state representative, my state House of Delegate in Virginia, and I want to work with her to try to help work on a bill to help remove some of the barriers for mental health. And I make a good salary and I get paid well, and it costs me a stupid amount of money for my insurance. And I hate it
mm,
when the insurance, oh, we have insurance in our network. And I'm like, I say, you're exactly right. Let me send a different babysitter to your house, or let me send a different
yeah.
dog sitter to your house, and I see that and they immediately clam up. I was like, exactly. So I was in therapy for a while. I started going to therapy to try to, how do I, my ex, how do I work, I want to help her with something. So I started going to therapy to help her, and I found out how to help myself. My trauma happens, this and that, and literally a month later, as soon as I'm home, I saw her once, and then the following week she had a heart attack. So I
Mm,
had 6 years, my help, my person who was able to give me the love and the care I needed was like not able to practice anymore, and I felt lost. So I made sure that my mental health was the most important thing for me, and I had good insurance at the time. And I went and found someone, and she said, "Okay, I can only do weekdays if that's okay." But she was the only one to accept me. I called 5 other people, and two of them didn't, said they weren't taking anybody, and the rest of them didn't even respond to me. And I've been there since, and I still talk to her weekly. And I tried to cut it out, and not because I couldn't afford it, try to do every other, but I didn't. I started feeling uncomfortable with myself more. I was like, okay, this is not going to be good for anybody if I just, it's just a little bit of money. It's not going to matter. It's not going to give any good when I die. Trust me.
mm,
So therapy has always been for me. And so when I've done speeches. I did a speech on emotions in the healing environment. I've spoke about men are allowed to have all the emotion, no emotions but anger, and women are allowed to have all emotions but anger. But we're all allowed everything, and people need to do it. So that's why I have no problem speaking out. Like I do a lot of advocacy too for LGBTQ communities with my one of the volunteer organizations I volunteer with, the gaming Paizo. So I keep telling them, like, guys, I'm a straight white male. I will go and fight for it, whatever, because I that is my job. That is what I can do. That is what I can do to help people move forward, is to stand up and say, this is wrong. Here's why it's wrong, and keep pushing that and making sure I don't accept it because it's wrong.
mhm. Cool. Yeah, that's a rare lane. A lot of people, survive and stay quiet, but that's good that you survived and you went on to fight the battles and help other people.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, man. I mean, it's it's really hurtful because I know some the kindest people in the world that are, trans, like some of the nicest people in the world, and I'm like, how can anybody how dare someone talk to someone like that? Like, they are so nice, and like for me, it's just it baffles me how someone can have that prejudice versus someone. And I mean, so many of my therapists and stuff in the hospital were all different type of ethnicities and came from everywhere, and I pitied people that would push someone away because of that. Like, there was a friend I had, and they were kind of made a big deal because there was a male nurse helping me learn to urinate and stuff. He was all like, "Oh," I was like, he's helping me. Like, it's not like he's doing anything else, but like he was all weirded out by that. I'm like, that's pretty sad. Like, that is how insecure you are. That's not me. Like, and so unfortunately there is that mentality out there, and that's where I felt sorry for people like that that don't know the good that's out there, because they tend to try to, you know, put their own barriers or whatever up for their own BS. And that's something
Yeah,
that I really get angry about because, world just needs to be a little bit kinder. We'd be less in this BS.
it
So,
would be better, a little bit kinder, but we're a long way from that, unfortunately. And let's backtrack to Amelia Clark. I've
yep.
been secretly stalking her for quite some time. Where you did you have did you have an opportunity to meet her?
No, no.
No?
No, no, I mean, I spoke to the organization. So her mother runs the organization. She's I don't say she's a figurehead. She worked for the organization, but her mother, that's was kind of her passion project. Her mother did it, but I did not have a chance to meet her. No.
Okay.
I've
Okay.
met a bunch of comic book writers and comic book artists and stuff. So my nerd culture is a little different, but I did not meet Amelia Clark.
Oh man.
Um, and it's interesting. So again, I'm bouncing around. I met um I met a person in the trauma unit, and they were really messed up, and I mean horribly messed up, and I mean, and I spoke to them for a bit, and they were out of it, and there was I remember there was a Batman bag in the room, and I asked, I said, "Oh, do you like Batman?" They said, "Yeah." And but literally the following weekend, I went to a comic book convention. I met Tom King, the writer of Batman. Now,
Yeah.
I told him the story. I said, "What would Batman say?" And Batman said, he picked up, he said, "It's okay to be scared. Everyone's scared. Now is a chance to be brave, Batman." And
Mm,
Tom King used to work with um, uh, PTSD. He's worked with soldiers and stuff. So that's what he did before. So again, through this vulnerability, through me reaching out, I was able to kind of connect to someone and enhance them for this. I mean, there's not many pictures of my trauma, but I met Jason Aaron, the writer of Thor, and one picture of me is holding that Thor comic with Jane Foster. And I told him, I said, "You have no idea how much this is like what I was going through, because I was, imagine being able to pick something up and being removed from what you were trapped in that, sick person, sick soul, sick body, and be able to live something else." I said, and he was just awed. And he picked up the comic and signed, by the power of Nicholas. So, I mean, again, all these neat little things. I mean, that went from I didn't hear you say you were stalking Amelia Clark. Don't worry. It went from Amelia Clark to that, but yeah.
no, 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 no. You didn't hear that, Nicholas. You didn't hear that. So what breakdown table top role play and what that's about for the people that don't know what that's about out there.
So it involves math rocks. It involves a fantasy based game. A lot of people might know. I mean, Dungeons and Dragons is the biggest well known one that was made popular by a lot of different things like Critical Role, as well as Stranger Things. That's, I told someone, I said it's like D&D, and I was like, "Oh, like Stranger Things." I was like, "No, way before Stranger Things," but it is a way to create a character that you want to control or add. Think of it like, let's say you're playing Elder Scrolls, or I don't know what type of video games you guys play, if you play anything like that, but playing a knight, you're playing a wizard or whatever, but you're doing it with just moving a figure around and doing dice instead of the video game commands. That's all it is. It's just using dice instead of, this is the input of a handheld. And so for me, that was a big part of my recovery, because um, I I had to learn, I had to practice reading it. I never lost the ability to read. I just had to learn how to use my eyes again. But when I first went to that, the game stores, I mean, I was in a wheelchair. It was a lot, really loud. It was very, noisy lights. But I actually, I made sure to put myself in that uncomfortable situation. I made sure to move the pieces with my left hand, because I don't have full feeling in my left side still. And right side brain injury has a lot with compulsivity and going between executive functioning and creative thought. So nothing's, I mean, that's what a role playing game is. It's thinking about numbers one time and thinking about fantasy the next minute. So for me, I was able to really try to do everything I could to do it. And then through that gaming that, again, controlling this wizard, controlling this monster, whatever, I was able to meet more and more people. So that's why I volunteer for a organization, Paizo Organized Play Fund. They're one of the biggest publishers. So I just got back not that long ago in December from PAX Unplugged in the city of Philadelphia. So we did a huge convention there, and but it's nice because that gives me opportunity to meet with new players and have them feel comfortable. And for me, that is so important because I know what it was like when I felt scared, when I felt alone. So I want to make sure that people should be able to be creative and have fun. I said that to the band I'm friends with, like, people go to a concert and the one thing they're there for is the concert. It kind of forgets, their ethnicity, their orientation, whatever. They're there because they have an enjoyment of something. And that's something that I want people to focus on instead of what they don't like in this. And that's what's really neat about this organization, be able to talk to more people and find out, people have it rough, people have it differently, but when you can stand with them is important. I saw something once. Sympathy is when you stand over someone, you're so sorry for them, everything else. Empathy is when you walk with someone. So I always
Hmm.
try to walk with someone through their journeys, whatever it is, to show that, hey, I might not know what it is, but I'm willing to walk, through it with you.
That's cool. That's cool. That's so. Have you ever been any? I have to know this. Have you ever been in any gaming tournaments? Because I know it's a lot of gaming tournaments. It's for PC, right? Dungeons and Dragons and
No, it's tabletop. It's all pen and paper.
it's pen and paper. So you don't do any PC at all?
No. I mean, some
No.
people play online, but it's all involving math rocks and yeah, it's all. Yep.
Okay, that's cool. That's
Okay.
cool. Cause I've seen like the same thing with the PC and everything. I try to get into it, that whole gaming thing, but it's really difficult with the Dungeons and Dragons. So I just stick with Boots in the Sand and Call of Duty. That's it.
Yeah, I mean,
Boots
it's
in the
it's
Sand.
it's different for I'm trying to see if I have a book or something. I have so much. First, I don't have one on me. I can turn my camera off real quick and grab one. But it's just, again, you use a character and you have an idea what you want to do and you move them around a map, and you don't have to have physical pieces, and you can literally get involved in it with. Well, Paizo believes in the free markets. You can actually play it without spending a dime, download a lot of stuff on their site, everything else, and they believe if you enjoy it, you'll buy the product and stuff. So that's what they
Cool.
want. But so it's neat. So I get to go weekly, or try to weekly, depends on work, or just to help organize games for this. I was actually pretty cool. I started something small in Fairfax. I love I loved Christmas a lot growing up, but was my previous relationship and everything else made me really dislike Christmas. What I love about the holidays are for the kids. That's what it's for. And I love the Toys for Tots organization. So I would do like a game day. Everybody come in and bring toys. We play a game together. Well, it got more and more popular. And then this past year, literally 2 weekends ago, I was in College Park, Maryland, but I was on Twitch, and we had two tables in store. We were also with 14 other stores across the country doing 23 tables total, about 125 people, all playing the same game at the same time.
Wow.
And and again, we donated a lot of toys, we got a lot of stuff for kids, a lot of awareness, and that's what it's about. So I've taken, my bleeding heart is everywhere, but I keep trying to do what I can to keep helping people, like, move further and further and gain more and more and a better perspective.
That's fantastic, man. Good
Yeah.
job.
So Nick, from a motorcycle accident to recovery to PMP, new job, career, you speaking. Where would if you could describe the place you're in right now in your life after recovery, what would it be?
Um, what would it be? I would say I can't settle. Always
Mm,
moving forward. I never want to. So I'll be real, and let me. So the hardest thing for me is to know that it was 12 days where my brain was out, And so I'm always trying to do more and more. It's that time I'll never get back. And it's totally BS. It's totally crap. But I am always going to do more and more because I can never be still, because there was a time where I had to be still. My brain
Mm.
wasn't there. So for me, it's always just moving forward. I always joke, if there's 5 minutes left in my day, I'll fill with 10 minutes worth of crap. It's just kind of my
Mhm.
MO. That's what I got to do. It's because I want to do better. I want to do better for others, and I want to make sure that my brain is constantly going, because I remember when it wasn't, and
That's right.
it is the most terrifying darkness and cold that you'd ever see. I mean, it is. So
No,
I can never be still. I want to keep going.
no, it totally
Yes.
makes sense. Totally makes sense. And not only that, just from hearing your story, it's also like what comes up with me is like a sense of gratefulness, because when you told me you was in PMP for construction after a traumatic brain injury, it's kind of like you defied our odds to go through all that
Thanks.
therapy, speech, and for you to be a PM. That's Superman, if you ask me. A lot of people can't be organized and schedule and budgeting, and you did all that after a traumatic brain injury. Sometimes you just got to stop and say, "I made it. I made it back."
Thank you.
You know,
And
so
thank you.
that's
Thank you.
so I tip my hat to you, man, for just for keep for because you kept going, and where you are now, it's like you can say I like to say that you're successful and bring yourself back.
Thank you. I can never leave. I always wanted to leave everything a little bit better than I last had it.
Mhm.
And every day that's what it is. And you know, I am a very different person. I'm the same person, but I'm a very different person than I was before. And someone asked me, like, what would you say to your old self? And I joke and I said, I was like, don't wear your helmet. But I would not, I don't know, I would tell it, hold on for the ride.
Mhm.
Mm.
And my old self would be terrified and just of what I've done. But I don't look at it like that. I see something, I have a goal. So I am very goal oriented in everything in my life. That's what they teach you in the hospital about what is your goals? What is your goals for recovery, like to get through this? So I'm very goal motivated. I want to do better. I want to make it better for someone else. I want to go, my goal is to go to Richmond, or help do a house thing. I was at a Democratic event, because I'm a volunteer at the for my precinct, and I actually spoke to my United States Senator Mark Warner, and he literally emailed me thanking me for the hard work. He said, "Keep it up and let us know how we can help." So I'm like, again, trying to not take anything for granted. That's what it is. I'm never going to take something for granted,
Mhm.
because I know what it was like not knowing what was up or what was down or what was next. So living in the now,
Mhm.
joy is in the present, just trying to remind myself to keep that mentality, to keep moving forward is important.
And I heard that don't wear your helmet statement. That was pretty dark right there. Um which brings me to my next question, Nicholas. What was the darkest thought you had during recovery, that you have never forgotten? And what kept you from listening to it?
I mean, I don't, I try not to talk much about it, but it was just, brain injury was very dark. It was very dark. I remember that dark silence and just wanting to just not wake up, just wanting to just have that comfort of that cool, quiet, dark. So that's why I'm always trying to trip the darkness, always trying to move forward, because that is that. I mean, if you remember the never ending story, the nothing, that's what it's out there. It's out there, always there. So I try never to let it win, because there is more than nothing out there. So it was when that happened, just wanting to just give in. But that was not, and that was never in the cards. That's not who I am, and I'm too much of a pain in the ass for that. It's like I got to keep going.
Mhm.
Right. Right. So did you have any, like, was like, did prayer have anything to do with it, or just the person that you are didn't want to let yourself down or let anybody else down, that kept you from thinking about them dark times? Or did you have any coping mechanisms?
Um, I mean, coping mechanism, yes, it was my music. It was
Mm,
again getting into games. But I didn't. So I lost one of my old players who I just knew. It wasn't really like just a player, and they ended up dying by suicide in a while. It was for my trauma, and knowing that, how much it rocked my world and everything else, that was not even. I made sure that I anything like that, I was like, it can't be, because I didn't want to hurt those around me. So that was what helped me through it, not wanting to helping others make sure they didn't waste their efforts on me. It's again, I'm trying to always pay back the therapist that helped me. I don't have this joyous thing and I'm thankful every day and everything else. I walk around like, I'm singing in the rain, but what I'm doing is making sure that my therapist, everybody that helped me through this journey knows that I was worth it, and I'm going to keep going to keep pushing and helping others see that their value as well.
Right.
mhm,
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Nicholas. I appreciate that.
mhm.
Very welcome. Thank you.
Nick, just from being on the show, brother, just and to our viewers and those in the audience, what would be the message that you are trying to leave on this show for someone that haven't went through a a traumatic experience similar to yourself?
That I promise you're not alone. That
There you go.
it may seem that way, it might seem unique, but there are others out there that went through something similar, but or very different, whatever. But you are not alone. And when we speak about our vulnerabilities and our trauma, I spoke at my old company about this, because May is Trauma Survivors Day. In May 17th is Trauma Survivors Day. So I spoke at a town hall about it, and people reached out to me afterwards, letting them know how trauma touched their family. Trauma is the number one cause of death between 18 and 45. Technically, it's 1 to 45, but 1 to 17 is just guns. Um, but so trauma is the number one cause of death between 1 and 45. So
Mm,
it affects a lot more than people realize. So understanding that it might feel unique and it is your experience, and I that's the hardest day you've ever been through. That is how it works. And I would never wish. I tell people about my trauma, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that." But I mean, Stryker, you like you died on the day, like, oh my gosh, how could you? So again, everyone's different, because I lived through this, you went through this, so each of us looks at it differently, because we know what we survived in our own time, that we went through it. So we can't imagine taking someone else's whatever happened and into ours, like, oh my gosh, I can how did you do that? But
mhm,
we only knew what we were strong enough to do, because that's what it was, and that's kind of where we did. And it's okay if someone never wants to talk about their trauma, never wants to talk about their illness. That's fine. That is okay. I don't take that away from it. For me, I speak about it because it helps me heal. It helps me meet cool people like yourself, where we can actually make a difference in this place. We can actually bring a smile to someone they didn't know about, that, something like there. And so for me, that is why what I want people to know is that they are not alone in whatever they're going through. Doesn't have to be trauma, whatever struggles they're going through, they're not alone. And that it's okay to reach out for help, because I tell you, I promise you, there are hundreds of people that want to help you that you'll never know. And that's what my injury showed me, that there's always people willing to help, and I also want to be now one of those people that will always try to help make sure people know.
Cool. Quick question, Nicholas,
Yes.
before I wrap it up. Um, for TBI, I know is something that's long lasting and everything. What do you use to, like kind of like dull the pain? Or I know you suffer from headaches, right? Am I right in saying that? What can you use? What the other people out there that's suffering from traumatic brain injury? What can they do if the medicine is not working and things of that nature? What can they do to kind of like help them through it?
So, I will 100% say I can never give medical advice. I would talk to
Right,
your doctors. For me, that's why I don't call it pain. I call it uncomfortable because
right,
pain has such an. I think there was there's an episode somewhere of a article they call it the fifth sense, where pain is something that's there, it's living. So I don't say I'm in pain. I'm just very uncomfortable, and understanding that it could be we could feel pain, we could feel discomfort, and I would look down and say, "Gosh, this hurts here," but I forget to look behind me about how far I came. Always keep track of whatever medicines you're doing and ask questions about it. Why am I on this? I was on a different brand of the same prescription, and I started feeling differently, and I brought that up to in the pharmacy, and they were like, and I went off of it and it changed how I felt. So understanding these little tweaks, and not everybody knows all the answers. Period. Nobody I don't know the answers, doctors don't know. That's why I speak to them and ask them, get their buy-in for it, ask them questions because they do want to help you, and how do we get through this? When it hurts bad, I mean, different people, different things like in music, shower, I have my dogs, and that's a lot of times if I feel a little out of sorts or I get a little bit, I count to three, 1, 2, 3. It allows me to control the space in my head. The space between stimulus and response is where the power lies. So I try to remind myself, just slow down, you're through this. And body memory is a thing. Like when I start getting a headache, my body will start panicking. I was like, no, 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 I'm okay. I'm okay. You're all right. But sometimes we fear you cannot remember pain. It's not possible. You fear pain. You fear pain you're going to be in. So your body is only thing it's trying to do is to protect you. That is what our bodies are meant to
right,
do, is to protect us. So we can't remember it, but just allowing yourself when you're feeling that, just saying like, okay, I went through something similar before. We got through this. Talk to yourself, talk out loud, because that'll sometimes help you with the experience you're having.
right, right. Thank you for that, Nick. I appreciate it. And that is it, folks. That is it. Recovery is not a finish line. It is a decision you make again and again. Thank you, Nicholas, for being here. I
Thank you,
respect you
boss.
for turning survival into service and pain into purpose. To everyone listening, if you are dealing with trauma, TBI, anxiety, depression, or the invisible war inside your mind, hear me clearly. You are not weak, you are not broken beyond repair, and you are not alone. It's war, each one, reach one. We're all recovering. For my man Swaggy, the first Swaggy vet, stay swaggy. Nicholas, thank you, brother, again. Thank you for
Thank you,
being
guys.
here. 1SV, that's it. Any
We out.
last words?
No, brother. I
We
appreciate
out.
you having me on the show. We out.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
guys so much.
Thank you, Nick.